the hormones kicked in, then, mind goes crazy, opposite sex, and frustration is there. I don't have to talk much about that. But then by Krishna's grace, I began searching again for absolute truth. Who am I? What am I? Where do I go? What happens at the time of death? Why I have to suffer? These questions. So I was looking for answers. One time I remember I was at a school in England, and Birmingham, minor public school. It was at a physics class. And the physics teacher, he wrote up a big formula, Newton's second law of thermodynamics, on the blackboard. Very complicated formula. So me and my friend, we were already rebellious. We didn't know where this science was leading us, and we didn't see how it would answer my questions, answer our questions. So I put my hand up, and the teacher said, "Yes, really hot. What's your question?" I said, "Why?" W-H-Y. How do you say in Croatian why?
Zašto.
Huh?
Zašto.
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 And then he became angry. He said, "What? Don't disturb the class. Just get the formula down in your notebook and pass your exam. If you want to know why, go to the school chaplain." Because there was a chapel and pastor, how do you say, chaplain? Priest?
Priest.
He ran the church, ran the school chapel. So if you want to know why, go to the school chaplain. So actually, it was very perfect. He was a sincere person. And when I look back at him, he gave me good direction. If you want to know why, you have to go beyond this senses. The senses, the mind, intelligence. How can we reach beyond them and ask questions about the persons who's using the senses? Just like in a telescope. Telescope, you can look at the stars, and you can look far, far, far away, millions of light years away. But do you know who you are? Looking? This is the difference between inductive knowledge and deductive knowledge. Inductive knowledge, which is based on the scientific method of experiment and hypothesis and so on, is always defective. Because, you've probably heard this before anyway. Likely to make mistakes, likely to cheat, likely to be illusion, and senses are limited. I don't know what's beyond this wall. I can't say. And senses are limited. And just like today, we listen to different things on the internet, whether we should have vaccine or not, whether it's COVID or isn't COVID. And we realize actually, where's the truth? Who are we to believe? What propaganda is believable? These people do make mistakes. And after some time, they admit it's a mistake. One time they thought that the earth was the center of the universe, and they thought the sun was the center. Then Einstein said there is no center, and then someone else would come along. So how do we know the truth? And anyway, if we're seeking for the truth, Who am I? It's like, a dog, sometimes a puppy dog, chasing his tail. Ever seen a puppy dog chasing his tail? Running down in circles. Just like at home, we used to have goldfish. You ever have a goldfish at home? A goldfish ball. You keep it in the lounge and have some goldfish swimming around. So, how will a goldfish know what's going on in the house? He's got eyes on the side of his head, and he's looking at the goldfish bowl. What does he know what's on the news or the television? And what does he know about us going to work and this and that? His senses are limited. This is the trouble with the inductive process and the modern education. From childhood we're taught, experimental method is the way to the truth. But from personal experience, I never knew what was the truth by that method. And I tried other methods also. One day I went to my father when I was 12. I said, Father, what's the point? Because I was, my parents thought I was depressed. So I said, what's the point of life? What's the purpose of it all? You have to suffer so much. Partial exams and this and that, relationships, anxiety. I don't have to talk about it. Everyone knows anxiety. But what's the point of it? Why do I have to go through all this? So I asked my father, what's the point? And he said, well, my dear boy, first of all, you pass your exam. Then you get a good job. Then you get a nice family. And then you're happy. I thought, I was very interested in my home. My parents were actually very good because I was very interested in natural history. I had many aquariums, fish, lizards, frogs, many creatures. I used to observe them. And I used to see they were born and they died. Are they really happy to be born and die? So my father answered me that then you're happy, to reproduce the species. He seemed to think that the main point of life was to reproduce the species. Therefore you have to pass your exam and but what am I? Where does this all go? Then one time I asked my mother, she was doing the washing up, washing the dishes in the kitchen. I was about 5 or 6. Mommy, I go like that, Mommy, where did we come from? Understand the question? Mommy, where do we come from? And my mother went red in the face. She was very embarrassed. She didn't know what to say. Although she'd been to university, studied English literature, she's very a nice mother, a wonderful mother. But she said, when Mommy and Daddy kiss. That's all she could say. Because she had no spiritual knowledge. She didn't know that the self is different from the body. If she'd read Bhagavad Gita, she would have answered me differently. If she'd really understood Lord Jesus, she would have understood differently. For instance, I was always attracted to one story in the New Testament, I think. I have to remember when I read the Bible. But Satan took Jesus on a mountain. And he said, I can give you all this. All this will be yours. You will be the most powerful person in the whole world. And then Jesus said, what is the value if I lose my immortal soul? Immortal soul. So I knew there was something that I didn't understand from my modern education. So the Vedic scriptures give the example about deductive knowledge. The example of an orphan, a young boy. Just imagine, there's a young boy, maybe in a refugee camp or somewhere, some ghetto. He doesn't know who his father is. So he's going in the street. Excuse me, sir, are you my father? Excuse me, sir, are you my father? Excuse me, sir, are you my father? Well, people are walking past, and crowds are walking past. Excuse me, sir, are you my father? It's hopeless. He's engaged in a hopeless task. So one kind person, hello, Sonny Jim, you looking for your father? Yes, sir. Why don't you ask your mother? Do you have a mother? Yes. Why don't you ask your mother? Oh, that's a good idea. He goes back to his mother and, Mummy, who's my father? So then, presuming his mother knows, and maybe the boy's so young, the father is away in Vietnam or some other side of the world. She says, here's your father, And then he immediately knows. This is deductive knowledge. There's no other way you can find your father but by the information of your mother. You may say, well, they do DNA tests. Can you do a DNA test on 7 million people, 6 million people on the whole world? Even then, who's to say DNA is correct? After a few years, they may say it's not correct. So this is the kind of education that I appreciated when I read Bhagavad Gita. It wasn't an ordinary book. It was a book of which explained the difference between inductive knowledge and deductive knowledge. The ascending process, accumulating facts and figures, and trying to understand the complete whole by synthetic method, and the deductive process, accepting as the supreme whole and analyzing it. So Bhagavad Gita is a wonderful book because Prabhupada, the spiritual master, has that potency to, with his words, enter into our heart. That is the spiritual master. The spiritual master can be present in his physical form, like this statue on the altar, and he so-called passed away in 1977 in Vrindavan, India. But another form is in his sound form, his words form. Actually, words are more important than sounds, actually. We're so much interested in sound, especially on the internet and TV, radio. Have we ever seen the President of the United States face to face? But we believe that picture on the screen is him. I've never seen it. But we believe the picture on TV is him because we believe in hearing. Hearing is the most important. Hearing can actually awaken us. when we're sleeping, someone's in the room and you're about to steal something, makes a noise. Who's that? Immediately you're awake. Someone's in the house. You're scared. Who's that? Because the sound has awakened one. So this transcendental sound vibration, the chanting Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada, he brought to the West as a method of Bhakti Yoga, which is practical for everyone. It's not an artificial thing, but this sound vibration is descending from beyond this world of birth and death, a temporary world where we think we belong, where the body belongs. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, false ego. So okay, these are 8 elements, Bhagavad Gita says. 8 elements: earth, water, fire, air, space, mind, intelligence, false ego. 8. But who is the possessor? We all have this, we're surrounded by these different elements. But who am I? Bhagavad Gita is saying, Prabhupada is explaining Bhagavad Gita. Aparayama tasramyam prakritim vidime param jiva puta mahabhaho yayedam dharyate jiga. But, Krishna says, there is another superior energy of mind which consists of all the living beings which are exploiting this inferior material energy. Now we're getting a picture of what's going on. What am I? I'm a superior energy to this dead matter. This body is like a dress, some clothes which we change. It's very interesting knowledge, no? You begin to tell me who am I? But still, there's more I have to know. And Krishna says that a mixture of these two, spirit and matter, are making this whole universe work. Even the planets, they're people. These planets, they have consciousness. Plants have consciousness, trees have consciousness, birds have consciousness. Consciousness is the symptom of the soul, of a living being. So even the whole universe, there's superior beings, like Brahma, Shiva, Ganesh, and so on, demigods. They're managing the whole universe. And then Krishna says, Mata parataram kalya, kinchidasa dhananjaya, maya sava medam pratam suchimani. Krishna says, there is no truth superior to me, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. There is no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on a thread. Just like we have a necklace. The thread is holding everything together. Krishna is saying, everything rests on me, just like pearls are strung on a thread. So when I read this, I realized, wow, I understood that the God, the Father of Lord Jesus, is Krishna, who speaks Bhagavad Gita. Why not? If I'm a person, why shouldn't God be a person? But the only thing is in the Bible, it doesn't explain who that person is. Maybe in the Psalms of David. There's very devotional Psalms of David. He says, my Lord is sweet. He's, bluish like a cloud. It's not very vague, but the idea of a person Jesus sitting at the right hand of God the Father. But who is the Father? So when I read Bhagavad Gita, I thought, well, this is it. I have the spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, and he's revealing to me something they never taught at university, college, or whatever. And then, leading up to this song, there's a verse which is very interesting. Because Bhagavad Gita says, Krishna says, there's a higher nature. which is not created and destroyed. And all in this world is destroyed, that part remains as it is. There's a spiritual world. And that's where I belong. I come from that spiritual world. I'm spirit myself. But the purpose of human life is to return to our home. Prabhupada used to say, back to Godhead. So that this material world is like a, paradise lost. And the Bible says, Garden of Eden, Adam and Eve, they were naked, and they called the knowledge of good and evil, the snake, and they had to leave the Garden of Eden. Garden of Eden. So that's that how do you say, parable, that story, has a lot of truth in it. So I recognize, it's not that I'm giving up the Bible or say that it's bad, but Bhagavad Gita is taking me further. My spiritual master is taking me further. Jesus took me so far, and he definitely is my spiritual master. But he couldn't actually teach me who I was and the purpose of human life. That I was different from the animals. Animals, what do? They're lovable animals. My dog is lovable. But what does he do? He eats, he sleeps, he has sex and he defends. Am I just the same as my dog and cat? Or my parrot? And when I read Bhagavad Gita, I came into contact with Prabhupada, then I realized, well, he's got knowledge that I've just answered all my questions. Now I know who I am. I'm part and parcel of Krishna, tiny part and parcel. I'm spirit. Krishna is the supreme spirit. He has a beautiful form, just like you see. Radha Sundar, blackish, Radharani. Radharani is his internal energy, spiritual bliss, Hladini Shakti, his energy of pleasure potency. And you have Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra. Krishna also has families, relatives, brothers and sisters, but they're fully spiritual. And then Gaunitai. So this part of Bhakti Yoga is very intriguing. When I first joined the temple in London, 1971, I'd been practicing as an artist, a sculptor, into college, and that was my hobby from childhood. But when I went to the morning service, 4:30 a.m., that's called Mangal Arti, and the curtains opened, and there was Radha and Krishna, beautifully decorated, beautiful incense, and smiling faces, nicely dressed, the flowers, everything. And then I realized, well, for 26 years or so many years, I was trying to make beautiful things to help people. Somehow or other, I was thinking I was helping them. So puffed up, so proud. But then I realized the real art is to bring people to understand the personality of God, the form of God, His qualities, His pastimes, His activities. Because if we know who God is, we also know who we are. Krishna is the person, supreme person. I'm His servant. I'm part of Him. I have a relationship with Him. So anyway, we could just sing this song and we can have questions. Okay. And I read some verses from Bhagavad Gita. So this is a nice song. Jai Radha Madhava. Jai Radha Madhava. Everyone say Jai Radha Madhava.
Jai Radha Madhava.
So this is also Radha Madhava, Radha Sundar. Radha and Krishna has many names. Another name is Radha Madhava. Kunja Bihari. Kunja Bihari. That means that they are having their childhood pastimes in the forests, in the spiritual world, in Vrindavan. And actually that's also present on this planet where Krishna appears. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha. Krishna doesn't just have one supreme girlfriend, but all the other ladies and girls in Vrindavan, they love him also. Gopi Jana Vallabha, Giri Bharadhari. He's a lifter of Govardhan Hill. Giri Bharadhari. He's a lifter of Govardhan Hill. That's an extraordinary, amazing pastime Krishna did at the age of 6, when the village was inundated with heavy storms and rain and so on. So he lifted the whole mountain on his little finger, pinky, for a week. And all the inhabitants of Vrindavan, the cows, they were under this umbrella for a week. They didn't feel any anxiety, no problem with food or sleeping. It was like a 5-star hotel. He was holding up the mountain. So inconceivable power, even though he's a little boy. Giri Bharadhari. Yashoda Nandana. Krishna also has devotees who love him so much that Krishna agrees to become their child. And you know the story. Mother Yashoda even has to chastise Krishna. Although he's God, he's bound by his mother's love, his devotees love so much that he agrees to be, chastised by his mother. It's the intense love of God. Yashoda Nandana, Brajajana Ranjana, Brajajana Braja is the place where Krishna used to live. We have our temple in India. Krishna, who's been to Krishna Balaram Mandir? Anyone? Yeah. It's nice. Yamuna Tir, there's a wonderful river also. Okay, let's sing a song. We're going to have some questions. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari.
Yamuna
Divine Grace Rabbi Shanarvind Bhakti Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. ISKCON founder, BBT founder, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivakacharya Stosati Sisama Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Anantakari Vaishnavindi ki Jai. Mama Sharda Haridas Thakur ki Jai. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Vaidika Radha Sivasati Go Bhaktivinoda ki Jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyama Kund Radha Kund Kirika Pradana ki, Surabindam ki, Abhip Maya Pradana ki, Jaganas Paridama ki, Munamaya Gagamaya ki, Munamaya Tulsi Devi ki, Bhakti Devi ki, Sri Harinam Sankirtan ki, Sankirtan Devi ki, Abhita Bhakti Bendi ki, all Premanandi, all grace and 70 devotees, all grace and 70 devotees, grace and 70 devotees, Saga Bhakti Yoga Center ki, all Premanandi.
Mahavishnu Swami.
So actually, I realized that I've just been talking myself. I'd like to hear something direct from Prabhupada, from Bhagavad Gita, and then you can ask some questions, okay? There's a verse I want you to hear. Haribo. Because these are the real words of wisdom from my spiritual master. From the 10th chapter, Bhagavad Gita, the book is split. This book is falling apart in my hands. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Okay, we'll just read this one. 10:7. 10:7. Etam vibhutim yogam cha mama yogati tattvataha savikalpena yogena yujjate naiva sarishava samshayaha. Translation. One who is factually convinced of this opulence and mystic power of mind with a capital M, engages in unalloyed devotional service. Of this there is no doubt. Please repeat. One who is factually convinced of this opulence and mystic power of mind, engages in unalloyed devotional service. Of this there is no doubt. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The highest summit of spiritual perfection is knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Unless one is firmly convinced of the different opulences of the Supreme Lord, he cannot engage in devotional service. Generally, people know that God is great, but they do not know in detail how God is great. Here are the details. If one knows factually how God is great, then naturally he becomes a surrendered soul and engages himself in the devotional service of the Lord. When one factually knows the opulence of the Supreme, there is no alternative but to surrender to Him. This factual knowledge can be known from the descriptions in Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita and similar literatures. In the administration of this universe, there are many demigods distributed throughout the planetary system, and the chief of them is Brahma, Lord Shiva and the 4 great Kumaras, and the other patriarchs. There are many forefathers of the populations of the universe, and all of them are born of the Supreme Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna is the original forefather of all forefathers. These are some of the opulences of the Supreme Lord. When one is firmly convinced of them, he accepts Krishna with great faith and without any doubt, and engages in devotional service. All this particular knowledge is required in order to increase one's interest in the loving devotional service of the Lord. One should not neglect to understand fully how great Krishna is, for by knowing the greatness of Krishna, one will be able to be fixed in sincere devotional service. Srila Prabhupada ki. Because devotional service, another word for that is Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga. So any questions, please? Srila Prabhupada ki jai. I'll endeavor to answer. How long do we have? How is it? 8:10.
We are not limited with the time.
Huh?
We are not limited by the time.
Okay, next 12 hours, no?
You can sleep. If someone wants to leave, it's everyone is working.
Someone has to get back home, no?
Yeah.
And where's Prasadam? That's what we came for. Not to listen to me.
We have pizza for everyone.
Really? I'm in the right place at the right time.
Prema Samputa has a question.
Your name, Prema?
Prema Samputa.
Prema?
Samputa.
Samputa, wow. Nice name.
Thank you.
What does that mean?
Prema Samputa is a book written by Vaishnava Chakravarti describing Srimati Radharani's deep love for Sri.
Okay.
Maharaj.
Far away.
I want to ask, my question is, since I know you for getting to 25 years, what has been your source of strength?
What has been, huh?
Your source of strength in this Harinam Seva, traveling always around, and you always never change, yes? Your body remains the same.
But anyways, I wish it did. You should go and see my dentist and find out. As for my optician, given up on me. My source of spiritual strength. Well, that's my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada. What can I say? A desperate man, you know. An example is given. A turtle. There's a turtle swimming in the Pacific Ocean. If it happens to come up around one of these baby rings, puts his head up there. It's like very good fortune, unlikely. So Chaitanya Charanamrita says, Ramanda Brahmate Kali Bhagavan Jeev, Guru Krishna Prasadi Pai, Bhakti Lata Beach. After wandering up and down in the universe, and many universes, it's just one universe, up and down from heavenly planets, hellish planets, so many species of life, one may get the good fortune to Ramanda Brahmate Guru Krishna Prasadi Pai Bhakti, get the mercy of the spiritual master, of a bona fide spiritual master, and understand God, understand who we are, or what I am. So that's the only explanation, it's just my good fortune. either in this life or previous life, somehow or other I come into contact with this chain of disciplic succession, giving the transcendental knowledge. So we're all fortunate actually. Everyone's fortunate. You're all here, you're fortunate. Just like, electric, you touch electric connection to a piece of metal, the metal becomes connected. So that's the way disciplic succession works. If we have faith. Because you may say, well, where does that faith come from? Well, that faith comes from association of devotees. Somewhere along the line, maybe I had a bit of Mahaprasadam, and I threw it on the pavement, or a little ant came along, what is this, some sugar? He ate the Mahaprasadam, but it wasn't ordinary sugar. It was Mahaprasadam. Mahapizza maybe. So even an animal can get Agyata Sukriti, some special mercy by good fortune, by the mercy of a devotee. So until Prabhupada came, nobody understood Bhagavad Gita. It's true. Nobody understood this book. Allen Ginsberg was singing Hare Krishna mantra. Nobody became devotee. And Quintessence was singing Hare Krishna. And many people heard Hare Krishna from Radha Krishna Temple album, which was produced by devotees. But then, to actually meet a devotee, and that's the important thing after the association. So my answer is, somehow or other I got the association of devotees. That's it. Next question, please.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, can you tell something about the different, about Brahmanas and Vaishnavas?
These are two technical terms that's used in the Bhagavad Gita, Papa's books. I don't know what interest it is for newcomers. Any newcomers here? Any new people here? They're asking the difference between Brahmana and Vaishnava. Now you probably don't know what either of those means. But I give a simple example. That this body has a head, arms, belly and legs. So the body has to have all these parts to function normally. But still, without the head, you become a madman. Just like a chicken. Chicken without the head. It's flapping around till it falls dead. So, horrible thing. So Prabhupada said, this modern society is like that. It's like a body without a head. Simply we have the arms department, the politicians, you have the belly department, the business people, but no brains. No one is thinking, what is the purpose of life? What am I? What is God? So the Brahmana Brahmana means one who knows spirit. Brahma Janatiti Brahmana. One who knows spirit, he's called a Brahmana. But generally a Brahmana, he knows this, God is great. Like we heard. God is great. Somehow I'm part of God. And many Brahmanas, they think, if I can become one with God, if I become one with God, then That's perfection. That's also selfish. That's not pure love. To God, if I become identity. See? So even higher than a Brahmana is a Vaishnava, one who is a devotee. He recognizes the Supreme Personality of Godhead and becomes his servant. So there are different verses in the scriptures. It says one may be you may know all the mantras and tantras and all the rules of the Vedas and may all the scriptures backwards. You may know Sanskrit, blah, blah, blah. If you're not a devotee, then you can't even deliver yourself from birth and death. Krishna says, Bhagavad Gita, if you surrender to me, then I will free you from all your karma. So Brahman is very pure, very wonderful, he has knowledge. But unless he's a Vaishnava devotee, then he cannot go back to Godhead. There's a nice story, Prabhupada. Should I tell you a story? Prabhupada told about it. There was one time, it's a bit of a long story. Narad Muni is a transcendental spaceman, he has a spiritual body. So he was going to see Lord Narayan in the spiritual planet and Sretna. And he happened to pass one Brahmana who was doing all the pujas, mantras and sacrifices. And generally Brahmanas get paid for it, donations. You do a sacrifice for birth sacrifice. It's a priest. Brahmana means a priest. You do funerals, you do marriages, you do weddings, all these things. And you get donations. It's like occupation. So this Brahmana was very powerful, knew everything. So he said to Narada, where are you going, Narada? Oh, I'm going to see Lord Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in Vaikuntha. Oh, you really? Oh, that's wonderful. Can you ask him, I know all the scriptures, everything perfectly, I know all the mantras. So, ask him, how soon am I coming back to God? Is it that, after 1 month, 2 months, when am I going back to the spiritual world? So, Narada Muni said, oh yeah, oh God, I'll ask him. So thank you very much, Narada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo, doing all the mantras now. So then he was going a bit further, and there was this cobbler who was fixing shoes under a tree like you see in India. And as he was hitting little nails into the shoes, leather shoes, and he's thinking, Govinda Jaya Jaya, Gopala Jaya Jaya, Govinda Jaya Jaya, Gopala. And he saw Narada, and he paid his obeisances. He paid flat on the ground. Oh, Narada Muni, you're the priest of all everyone. You're the highest devotee in the universe. Please give your mercy to me. Where are you going? Oh, I'm going to see Lord Narayan in the spiritual world. I expect most of you have heard this story anyway. Or you can fall asleep, or you can go and take prasad. Anyway, so Narada said, yes. Well, I'm going to see Narayan. Can you ask Narayan something for me? Yes, surely. So he said, I'm the most fallen person. I don't expect you to get any mercy from anyone, because I'm most sinful. I only deal with, leather cows, so dirty, And so after how many millions of births will I be able to go back to Godhead, to go to the spiritual world? Okay, I'll ask him. So Nard went to see Lord Narayan, and Lord Narayan spoke to him. They had some discussion about how the people can be liberated from birth and death. So then Nard, when he was leaving, and he spoke to Narayan, he said, Lord Narayan, there's two people, they asked me questions. How long they will be in this material world, when they will come back to you. And one of them was a Brahmana. And I said, yes, I know this man. I know this Brahmana. And I can't say when he's going to come back, when he's going to surrender. He's too busy doing mantras and tantras and pujas and everything else. So I really can't say. And so it's up to him, when he's surrendered. Everyone has free will. I don't take away people's free will there. I have free will, Krishna said. So my part and parcel has free will, a little bit of free will. So it's really up to him. So, and then and I said, but what about the cobbler? The cobbler, he's coming back. He's very alive. So now I said, what? This cobbler, he's covered in, skin. He probably has to cut the skin off a dead cow and then make the shoes. So dirty. All he's doing is chanting Govinda, Govinda, Govinda all the time. So how will I explain this? How will I explain this to the Brahmin? And you say he's coming by this lifetime. So Narayan said, well, okay, when they ask you, when they meet you again, when they go down to this material world, you tell them, they'll ask you, what was Lord Narayan doing? And you tell them, I was threading an elephant through the eye of a needle. Threading an elephant through the eye of a needle. So Narayan said, oh, okay, interesting. So I'll tell him that. So then he went down to the material world and he spoke to the Brahmin. The Brahmin said, hey, Narayan, you coming back from Vaikuntha? Oh, wonderful. Yeah, I'm ready to go back now to the spiritual world. I'm packing my bags. Because I'm a really qualified person. I know everything. So tell me, how many births? Sorry, Mr. Brahmana. Lord Narayan said he didn't know. What? You really met Narayan? Are you really Narad Muni? I just thought you were Narad Muni. Maybe you're an imposter. Let me see. Tell me, what was Lord Narayan doing when you saw him? Well, he was threading an elephant through the eye of a needle. Threading an elephant through the eye of a needle. You expect me to believe that? Get out of here, please. You're bogus Narada. This is my version of the story. So then he went on with it. He met the cobbler. Oh, Narada. Paid his obeisances. Tried to touch Narada's feet. How many births? Have I got? What did Lord Narayan say? Lord Narayan said, you're coming back in this life, after this life, you're going back to the spiritual world, Vaikuntha, in your eternal form, where there's no birth, old age, disease, or death. You'll discover your eternal relationship with Krishna. Maybe you'll be a friend, you'll be a lover, you'll be a so on. What? It must be a mistake. I'm so fallen, How can I go back to God? I'm just, I'm chanting Govinda, Govinda, but look at me, I'm covered in blood and grease all day. So tell me, what was Lord Narayan doing? He was threading Now it said, threading an elephant through eye of a needle. Oh, my Lord, so wonderful. He can do anything. And now it said, what? You believe that? And then the couple said, why not? Just see, it's big. I'm sitting under this banyan tree, huge banyan tree. Have you ever seen a banyan tree? Big banyan trees in India, it's like as wide as this whole room. It's the trunk, and bigger than this whole room. And he said, just see this tiny little fig, inside this fig from the banyan tree, there's so many little seeds, you can hardly see them. So in each of those seeds, there's a whole banyan tree, by the Lord's arrangement. So if the huge banyan tree can get into one little seed, why should an elephant go through the eye of a needle? So this couple had wisdom, he could understand the greatness of God. So then now when he realized, yes, here's the real devotee. He can see this world, although he's living in this world, he sees everything in relationship with Krishna, because he's a devotee of Krishna. He never forgets Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki. So I think we've run out of time. It's time for Pitsananda. Hari Pitsa, Hari Pitsa, Pitsa, Hari. Have you done the offering yet?
Yes.
Sunananda?
Yes?
You done the offering?
It's offered.
Oh, really? So what next? Last Kirtan?
Okay.
Do you get 5 minutes?
I'm going to serve and you can sing.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Gauranga.
Gitananda! We hope to see you in Ghana again.
Ghana, is that where we go?
Yeah, I was the one who raised Mother Ila went at the school.
No.
Yeah, for 9 years. Yeah. After Ila and the Shashko there, I was the principal. Go to the children, Harinam and all this stuff.